Get started, hang on.
I get a detail from Douglas. They're trying to film for tomorrow.
Okay, all set.
Ready to go? Right, I would like to call the July 21st meeting of the Select Board to order. Before we get started, I would like to review Governor Baker's most recent finding on our meeting. This open meeting of the Town of Sutton Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. The governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. The order allows public boards to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded to that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting may feature public comment. For this meeting, the Select Board is convening via Zoom app is posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. For those on Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I'd like to move into public forum. Please remember, we're limited to 5 minutes per topic. Discussion or comments about town employees or agency members shall be avoided to not violate individuals' rights. Do we have anyone here for public forum? There being none, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, number 3, the minutes from our Select Board meeting on July 7th, 2020.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes as read from July 7th, 2020.
Second.
There's being a motion and a second. All those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion is passed 5-0. With our agenda items for this evening, agenda item 4-2 is a public hearing on Mass General Law 148, Section 13, fuel storage permit for IBA. I would like to declare this hearing currently open. Mr. Clerk, if you could please read the item into the record.
Mr. Chairwoman, and I'd like to make a notice to hereby given that the Sutton Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 5 p.m. in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, for the request of a fuel storage permit for 4 1,000-gallon above-ground tanks holding liquid propane fuel at 103 Gilmore Drive, map 45, parcel 69, Sutton, Mass. Owner of record, Veterans Grain LLC, IBA. This will be a virtual meeting in accordance with orders issued by the governor during the current state of emergency. There will be no in-person attendance by the public. Persons may attend and participate in the hearing by using the online Zoom application at https://zoom.us.join/join or via phone at 929-205-6099, meeting ID 862-1185-0247, and the password is 874262. You may also provide input by emailing djakes@town.sutton.ma.us or US mail to Sutton Select Board, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. 01590. An electronic file of the application is available at https://www.suttonmass.org/selectboard.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Jim, before we move to member comments, did you want to give us any background on this matter?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is very similar to the public hearing we had at the last meeting where we were discussing storage of compressed natural gas for Prime Metals. This is the next facility adjacent to Prime Metals, IBA. and also known as Veterans Grain LLC, but we know them as IBA. And they're requesting 4 1,000-gallon liquid propane tanks to be stored. This is a short-term, temporary situation until we get that natural gas up to Gilmore Drive, which is a priority, and we're working on that. So there are a number of propane tanks up on Gilmore Drive, and this is the latest request. And again, it's a temporary situation.
All right, thank you so much. Before we get to any potential public comments, I wanted to go around and see if anyone on the board had any preliminary questions. And Dave, we'll start with you.
Honestly, if it's all the same with you, I'd prefer to hear from Robin if he has any comments regarding this, or if not, I can.
Yeah. I apologize.
He
He fell off the Zoom. I didn't realize he was still on. Robin, are you there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Great. Nice to see you. Are there any comments or clarifications you can add to Jim's comments?
No, it's just I pretty much almost every business other than Prime Metals has some form of storage of propane. So this is just a formality. Some have 1,000 gallons, some 1,000 gallons. So nothing really to add to that specific question that I can answer from anybody.
If I could just clarify, you sort of cut out there for a minute. You said 1,000 gallon, or what was the second option?
Up to 6,000 gallons,
6,000.
the different businesses, so.
Okay. And did we have any other person that would like to speak on the public hearing other than board members?
I can speak in regards to with the propane company installing the propane tanks. My name is Paul DeLeo from DeLeo Gas. We'll be doing the install of the 4 1,000-gallon propane tanks. They're also going to be, from the design, have a privacy fence, so they're a little bit more hidden. And there's also going to be crash protection around those propane tanks. Robin Dresser has looked at the site plan, and I don't think there's any concerns on his end as far as location goes and crash protection. As far as the storage of the tanks, the 4,000 gallons is needed for the heating system required for this type of building. We would need a minimum of this size capacity for the heating to work properly. So that would be my comment in regards to the capacity storage that we need there. We would not be able to heat the building correctly if we had anything under that.
So just to clarify, presumably the 4,000 gallons would be primarily used in the winter for heating and would be reduced in the summer months?
Correct, yes. The majority of the usage would be in those winter months.
Okay. Did you have anything further to add, Mr. DeLeo?
No, that's it. This is a pretty straightforward install for us. There's nothing out of the ordinary for this. And as I stated before, it'll be temporary until we get natural gas online.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
David, would you like to make some comments?
Is that addressed to me?
Yes, you're the only David.
Zoom sound. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Actually, I do have some questions. I think maybe just as a matter of disclosure, I happen to be sitting on in a building on Gilmore Drive right now, and we have 5 1,000-gallon propane tanks at our installation. But I think the difference is that ours are underground, and I believe these are going to be above ground.
That is correct.
And so what I guess I don't know is how common it is to have these installations above ground, or are they typically underground?
You'll see both. You probably see in a long term, you would probably want undergrounds. We decided to go with the above ground install for this one because it is temporary. It's going to be safer for us to remove those tanks if they're above ground because we don't have to dig them out. So for this install, above grounds makes the most sense, but it could be an underground install, but it wouldn't fit the set. But it is common to see above ground storage.
It is common, you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I guess this is maybe for Robin, but just in terms of the protection. I was up there today, but they're not installed at this point. Is that correct?
No, we would need the permit, the license approved.
Yeah.
Can install.
So, so just, I guess I'm as concerned about the protections that will go around this as anything else. Last week, when we did a similar thing for Prime Metals, we had a neighbor that was in the meeting, and I think naturally he was just a little concerned about the proximity of the installation to the homes in the area, and so I guess I just would like to kind of speak to those concerns while we're here.
Yeah, so on the plan, it's proposed that there is going to be bollards placed every 3 or 4 feet at the location of the pad where the propane tanks are going to be located. So that's going to protect it from getting hit by any vehicles in that area or any plow trucks or anything like that.
But it is adjacent to a parking area, is that correct? The installation?
It is off a paved area, yes.
Okay.
Crash
And the
protection.
delivery truck itself essentially just pulls right up to that, and
It's off the property. It's not, directly near any loading docks or anything like that. It has been placed at the edge, the back corner of the property, where the least amount of traffic is proposed.
yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That's the only way we're able to make our setbacks off the building and off the property itself.
And the delivery truck essentially just sort of drives right up there, and
Yes, our delivery truck, yes. Yeah, it will drive right up there, park, 20 to 30 feet away from it and make our
okay. And then ultimately,
it wouldn't be that often. I mean, in the wintertime, there may be a delivery once a month. And then in the summertime, there wouldn't be any deliveries, just at the end of the season, the beginning of the season.
yeah, I'm not sure if that was a question. I for comparison, in the winter when ours is primarily used for heating, and I would say that in the coldest period, it runs about every 3 weeks.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I guess my last question is, when we have the anticipated natural gas run to this property, does the installation of that run through the same area of the building, or is there a whole separate area where that gas will run?
I can't really speak to that, but typically, where our gas line's coming up to the building, that's where the natural gas line will go to. But I can't speak for where they'll be running the underground natural gas line to the building. I would assume to the same location that our gas line runs to, but I'm not
Okay.
positive on that.
All right, Madam Chairwoman, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jesse?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just have 2 quick questions for Paul, I guess. The map that we had included in our packet, I can't tell exactly where the pad site for the tanks are going to be. Now, you said it's going to be the backside. Or am I assuming it's off the image that we have in front of us? Or is it one of the little squares that I can't read the specs on?
That's right.
I'm not sure what you have in front of you as far as the site plan.
I think, Jesse, if it's okay, I think I figured it out. I had the same problem, but I zoomed in and I think I found it. So it's
Okay, yeah.
from the road, it's on the right-hand side of the building, all the way in the back corner. There's like some trees that are there. And
Yep.
then there's a little drawing of a rectangular pad back there on the back right-hand side of the parking lot.
Kind of to the right of where it says, I think it says like the trash area or something like that. Next to the line of the spaces. Or trailer storage. Is that the square you're talking about, Dave?
Yes, exactly. Just before that, right?
Okay. Yeah, I tried zooming in and the caption blurred
Yeah,
on the image that I had.
Pretty hard to
so,
read.
yeah. All right. Excellent. That's one. And the second question I had, are these going to be, I know they're only temporary, but are they going to be, for the most part, permanently affixed? I only ask that because I know the other, for IBA, they're coming in trailers and they're mobile tanks. Are these going to be stationary, or are these going to have the capacity to move?
These are going to be installed as if they were a permanent install. So they plan on staying in place. They're going to be on a cement pad, poured cement pad. So everything about this install is an anticipation that it would be permanent, but the only reason why we are, with the above ground installation, to be able to remove them easily. These tanks will be delivered from a delivery truck, not like an exchange of us, when the tank's getting empty, putting a full one back into place. It'll be consistent deliveries.
Okay, perfect. I know you guys have a good reputation. I live right up the road from one of your transfer sites, right on the Sutton Millbury border, and I know there's never any issues. So,
Awesome.
yeah, good job. Thank you. Appreciate the
Yeah, no,
information.
absolutely. Us in the general contractor and the owners of the property have talked about, obviously the safety and the location of the spot, and this seems to be the best spot. And we feel comfortable with the crash protection they're going to be putting around the tanks to make sure that there isn't any issues or any accidents.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank you,
problem.
Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Jonathan?
Thank you. I really don't have any other questions. I think Dave and Jesse really covered everything that I was thinking about, so I'm all set.
All right, thank you so much. And Jeff, do you have any questions?
Just one, Madam Chair. I also was a little confused as to where the location was going to be. And it looks, I see, Dave, where you said, can you just tell me how close that installation will be to residential properties towards the rear of that property there?
I'm not familiar with the properties in the rear of this specific parcel. I'm sorry that I personally want to be able to answer that question. I'm not sure if anyone else here would be able to.
Okay.
Robin, did you have any thing you could add to that perhaps after your review of the site?
Yeah, I know it's well over 25 feet because that's code is a minimum of 25 feet or more. It's well over that. I know there's other buffers that dictate I think there's some possible wetlands or stuff back there, but I'm trying to find the actual site plan right now that I had emailed Deb, but it's well over that, well over 25 feet, so.
Okay, thank you so much.
Madam Chairwoman, if I just might chime in, I don't know the distance, but I do know there's no visible residences from there, that when you drive back there, it's all wooded. So you can't see anything, but beyond that, I really don't know.
Thank
Correct.
you so much, David, for that.
Madam Chair, that's all the questions I had.
Thank you so much. So I just have one question. And are the tanks that are at David's site buried because they're only 1,000 gallons, and this would be unburied because of its size, or does that not play into it?
That does not play. This location is going to have 4 1,000-gallon propane tanks. So
Okay.
tanks manifolded together. But the only reason why we believe the above ground is a better option, as far as, and I think Robin can speak to this, is it's going to be safer for us to remove above ground propane tanks than have to excavate an area and removing tanks of propane in there.
Fair enough. Robin, did you have anything to add to that?
Correct. Paul is correct in the tanks that were installed, the 5 1,000s that were installed at Dave's business. They were installed many years ago prior to in time frame of when NSTAR was coming. So they put them underground because it's more of a long-term install. Those other businesses, when they want to, they can switch over, but it'll just be a little bit more of a process for them to remove the propane tanks.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. That is my last question. I wanted to see, I believe we have some members of the public that would like to comment. If you could please identify yourself and give your address before you ask your questions.
Sure. Hi, my name is Susan Emmets. Address is 14 Virginia Avenue. So essentially what you described in terms of where the tanks are located is essentially abuts my property, is my backyard. And I would say I'm surprised it's even 25 feet, quite honestly. So, and yes, there is woods back there now, but as soon as the leaves start to fall from the trees, we are going to be able to very clearly, see back there. But one question I have, you talk about temporary. What are you defining as temporary? I'm just curious in terms of months, years. What is the definition of temporary?
Jim, did you want to respond to that or?
Sure. Sure. By temporary, I think a minimum of maybe 18 months to 2 years. Eversource is in the process of going through the process of laying down or designing a line from Northbridge to Gilmore Drive to bring natural gas. So it'll be there eventually. It's just a matter of exactly when. And there are hiccups in planning and unforeseen issues that come up from time to time. But right now we're hoping 18 to 24 months. They've already submitted their first reimbursement for the state grant that we received for natural gas. Eversource did from the state for $2.1 million. They are already out to bid, and they've actually received bids on the construction of the main that's going to go from the center of Northbridge near the town hall over to Gilmore Drive. So it's happening. It's just a matter of a little bit of time.
Okay, thank you for that
Sure.
information. The only other question I have, I'm just curious. I mean, we don't even have a working fire hydrant. I can't even tell you how distance from here. What if something does happen? I'm just curious. That we are very close. It abuts myself and the Budnicks on Mendon Road. So we are the first house that's right behind here. So, God forbid something does happen, and I trust that you're taking, I'm not questioning that you're taking all the proper safety measures. But I'm just curious, as I said, we don't even have a working fire hydrant in this area. So I'm just curious if something does happen, what the response plan would be.
Robin, did you want to address that with regard to the hydrants and the response plan?
Yeah, so that would dictate depending on any type of situation, fluid, any type of emergency, it's fluid. There is hydrants within Gilmore Drive, and there is some on actually Mendon Road that where Whitensville, one of their pumping stations, which is just past Barnett Road, which Virginia's kind of off. But there are fire hydrants within close proximity to your house, and then depending on what the emergency was, what the situation was when we got the call, we would mitigate that and manage that as necessary.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Susan, did that answer your question?
It did. Yeah. Well, I had actually spoken to somebody earlier today because it sounded like they were taking more trees down back there, and I thought they were supposed to be done. We were supposed to have a 30-foot natural barrier of trees behind us. That's originally when we built the house. We were told that, but they're definitely closer than 30 feet. So yeah. So I was told that they shouldn't have been taking more trees down today, but there was definitely trees falling. So not sure. But it did, Wendy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Is there anyone else from the public on Zoom that had a comment or question? No? There being none, we will take a roll call
No,
vote.
I have some comments.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Could you please identify yourself?
Robert Belcito from IBA Incorporated. I just wanted to let Susan know, I mean, I was up at the property today. I had heard somebody called about trees being taken down. I don't know where that would have been. I talked to the guys operating the excavator in that corner that you're talking about, and they were moving dirt there. So I don't, but they told me they didn't touch any trees. So we only cleared as to what the planning board told us to clear in that corner. And if anything else was cleared, that's not to my knowledge. I don't know that happened. And I also wanted to say that if there's any view of that, once the leaves fall off the trees, if there's any view of those tanks from your property, just let us know and I will plant something there or put up some fence. I mean, I want to be a good neighbor to everybody up there. We're spending I think $12,000 on privacy fence just for this little installation, vinyl privacy fence that should look nice. whereas our neighbors, Prime Metals and Scannell Properties, plunked a chain link fence with barbed wire around the gas depot in front of my front entrance without my knowledge. So I want to take care of my neighbors. I got an issue with my other neighbor about what I'm looking at. But be that as it may, it's there and I can't really do anything about it anyways. But yes, I want to make sure that that's hidden from any of the neighbors' view. So if anything looks awry once the leaves fall, please let me know.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. Any further comments or questions from the public? There being none, we'll take a roll call vote to close the public meeting. If I could ask David Hall for your vote.
Aye.
Jesse,
Aye.
Jonathan,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and Wendy Mead, aye. Therefore, we are now determining the public hearing to be closed, and we'll take a final vote once we have a proposed motion. Do I have someone to make such a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fuel storage permit for 4 1,000-gallon above-ground tanks holding liquid propane at 103 Gilmore Drive, Veterans Grain LLC, DBA, IBA.
I'll second that.
Where we have a motion and a second, we will now take a vote. All those in favor of agenda item number 2, vote as proposed, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you so much. That matter is concluded. We'll move on to agenda item 4-3, which is Sutton Youth Baseball and their third field request. Jim, if you could speak to that briefly, please.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request of Sutton Youth Baseball. They would like to add a third field down at Huff Road, adjacent to the lower Huff Field. Those of you folks that are familiar with that, and I think most of the board is because of, start opening days and so forth. This issue actually came up a few years ago, actually 6 years ago, with Jeff Paulus, who was a former member of Sutton Youth Baseball. He requested to put a third field at the same location that Sutton Youth Baseball is now requesting to put one. Jeff Paulus is no longer interested in doing the third field. He had founded the Blackstone Valley Thunder, which was a Babe Ruth type league or advanced league, and entered into agreement with the board and Sutton Youth Baseball, and he's no longer interested in pursuing that. So he has declined interest in that field. He has written as such. In addition, I'm asking that the board confirm the license agreement that was approved in 2007. It's a 20-year agreement that goes to 2027. They have invested a tremendous amount of money and time down at that property. They have built 2 great fields, and this third field will be in addition to that. They've provided dugouts, fencing, light, concession stand, landscaping, all the efforts that have gone into this, and it's cost a lot of money for them. So I am asking that the board acknowledge the dissolution of Jeff Paulus's agreement with Sutton Youth Baseball, vote to confirm the agreement that's in existence right now, as well as to approve the planning board for site plan review on that third field, and ultimately provide it to the select board for ultimate approval and consent. So that's essentially what we're looking for tonight.
Thank you so much, Jim. Do we have any other members present other than the public to contribute to this discussion?
Yeah, this is Corey Litchfield. How you doing?
Oh, good. Can we just hold off for 1 minute? I'm just looking for people that might be
Oh, yeah. Sorry about
here on
that.
behalf of the matter other than the public. Thank you so much. David, did you have any questions for Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm not
Can
sure
I
if
just
have questions.
interrupt you, David? I'm sorry to do that. Corey Litchfield is actually the treasurer of Sutton Youth Baseball. He may be wanting to speak on the matter.
My
Mention-
apologies, Corey. I did not realize that. If
Oh,
you wanted
that's,
to address the committee.
yeah, and I think that Jim summed it up pretty well, but we wanted to thank the town for the support of the program. We've been out there for about, 12 years supporting Sutton Youth Baseball. And as we know, some of the baseball numbers are down over the last few years. So this third field is really going to be an opportunity for us to close a gap that we have amongst the Little League age kids, which really are the feeder system to get up to both the Babe Ruth and senior Babe Ruth levels. So this field would literally get us to a point where we had fields for our 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-old kids in town to continue to develop. And I think getting them onto a real field would really be beneficial for us, because trapping them at that young age and getting them interested in baseball is really important. So I appreciate the board taking on this consideration. I can let you know that you have 7 board members who are very dedicated. And at the end of the day, we will do what's best for the town. So I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much, Corey. That was very, very helpful. David, did you have any questions for either Corey or Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I think I'll start with a comment, although Corey, I think, just kind of stated it fairly nicely. I mentioned to Jim today that the structure of the original agreement that included Sutton Youth Baseball as well as a third party, Jeff Paulus, was a little not quite sure why it ended up having that structure, but nonetheless, I think what we're doing here is recognizing that Sutton Youth Baseball continues to have interest in the property and in fact wants to develop it. And, my comment has been they've done a great sort of service to the town, in my view, with the property over the course of time that they've had it. So there's been a lot of development that has taken place down there, and certainly to the betterment of the field situation. Certainly when my son was playing baseball all those years ago, what we had for facilities then versus what we have now is a really tremendous difference. So I guess I'm happy to see that they're still interested in developing and upgrading the fields. And so, Corey, since you're here, I guess the question that I do have is, are you funded well enough at this point to be able to build it out in the way that you're proposing?
Corey, are you still present? Let's see who's on here. I
All right.
do not believe he is still present.
Okay.
Hello,
Well,
can you hear me
there we
now?
go.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can now.
Yes, we can, Corey. Thank you.
All right. I would say from a funding perspective, I think that, just speaking on the record, a part of what we go through is that the numbers are down significantly. So we do struggle for full funding. And I can tell you, some of what's going on in town now, we have 2 fractions of baseball in town with a Little Leagues team that started up here recently. And I think moving away from the fields that we've developed for baseball in Sutton and just moving to a point where we have 2 organizations is making it tougher from a financial perspective. So the tough part here is that, Huff Fields are our fields that the kids live on right now. And from a funding perspective, I can tell you as the numbers dwindle and us being all self-funded on those fields, it's very, very hard for us, especially with this COVID situation, right? We had to, and I know that Sutton Little League did send a letter to the board. The tough part is that we did refund everybody who wanted a refund completely for the spring season. So that's put a ton of pressure on us to the point where, refunding a lot of people, we offered them either some type of future credit for a season or a full refund, but we did refund everybody in totality. So I wanted to put that on the record and then just let everybody know that having these 2 different baseball teams now here or leagues in town are putting some pressure on us, but we are maintaining it. And to talk about that extra field, I can tell you that we're going to have to raise some additional funds, but we do have some people in town that want to help us. So after this project gets approved, and I'd be glad to walk you guys around the property, after we get through the project approval and all the different steps that we have to go through, which Jim has been very helpful about, we would love to be able to, do some of the work ourselves. So we have a guy that's come on that will help us with some of the removal of the trees, flattening out the land. He owns a landscaping business. So there are a bunch of people that are willing to work with us in town. And that's something that I'm really, really proud of.
Okay, so I guess summing it up, recognizing that you have some challenges in front of you, but it's still the, I guess, the commitment of the league, or the intention of the league to try to develop that property.
That would be great.
Okay, that was more of a question, I guess.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Just that it is your intention to continue to attempt to develop that property.
Completely. And there would be little things like fences and whatnot that we would need some potential support with. But at the end of the day, we would get the grounds ready, lay out the base paths and do all of that stuff. And then at that point, we may have to do it in stages.
Okay. I'm good for now, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dave. Jesse?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Corey, that's a great job. I appreciate the information that you shared with us. I am, like I think some of my other colleagues, I'm one of the former coaches who spent about 14 years of my life working with Sutton Youth Baseball all the way up through Babe Ruth. And I can tell you the last 4 years of coaching, not having a full-size field was, well, it was difficult to say the least. There were times when I was fighting with other teams to get practice time at the school. I had to use fields in Douglas. I was using fields in Northbridge just to make it work. And I was around when Mr. Paulus was suggesting the idea, floating the idea of building the field, and it was like a dream come true. So I'm definitely appreciative of the fact that even though Jeff is no longer around or involved, that Sutton Youth Baseball didn't allow this idea to die. Because to your point, just having the big space, even with the little kids, just to get them out there so that way they can see and they can understand just the dynamics of the game. You know, I think it's going to be wonderful. And I also appreciate the fact that that you gave reference to volunteers, because ultimately Sutton Youth Baseball would not exist without all the parents that give their time. I was there when the dugouts were put in. I was there when we raised the electric scoreboards. We renovated the snack shack. One of the last thing I was involved with was when we put the flagpole in before they made the bench area for the food. So sweat equity is definitely the way to go. So it's good to see that the current parents who are involved are willing to roll up their sleeves and help the kids get out there and play ball.
Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate that sentiment, because at the end of the day, it is all sweat equity. And I can tell you that there are 7 dedicated people on this board that really want to make baseball work in Sutton. So at the end of the day, we're putting in the sweat equity, and Jim has been a good sounding board for us. And I know he's in the loop on a lot of what's going on here in town. The important piece here is just that if there is anything that the town can do to help out, I can definitely tell you that there's not excess money within our account right now. We run in a very extremely tight budget. Being the treasurer, I can tell you that, you know, I'd appreciate any other help that we can get from a standpoint of developing this field. And I look forward to working with you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, if there's anything we can do, just let us know. I'm sure we'll do whatever we can.
And Jim's made that clear, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Oh, you're welcome, Jesse. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Corey, for your dedication and keeping you and the 7 other or 6 other parents who are dedicated to keeping Sutton baseball going and making this investment. I have fond memories of playing baseball, Little League in Sutton, and I just really enjoyed that experience, and it was my favorite sport. So I'm so glad that we still have an organization that's dedicated to the development of our youth, and the fact that you're going to build this field out, and knowing that the only other full-size field is at the high school. So having this other field will provide you a lot of flexibility. So I'm glad to see this. I'm really going to encourage people within town to step up and to really support you and provide both sweat equity and money to help you with this field, because I think it's an important investment in our kids. And,
Yeah. appreciate that. And I think that, one of the things that we can definitely step up with together is some of the fundraising we've done. We had a really nice comedy night earlier in the year where we had a really nice turnout. We run a golf tournament in October at Blackstone, They've been a very good sponsor of ours. So, anything you guys can do word of mouth in town to be able to fill up that golf field. I think that that's a really good fundraiser for us. So I'd like to just throw that out there now. If anybody wants to be part of the board as we do that, please just reach out. But we have a really good crew in place to build that up to try to build some funds this year also.
Yep, thank you. And I just have a question. Did you recently receive a grant from a local business or some funding from a local business? I think it was in the newspaper or something, I think I saw.
Yeah, that was Bank Hometown. So Bank Hometown donated they made a very nice donation to that third field.
Oh, great. All right. Well, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Jeff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have really a lot more to add than my colleagues have said. I spent, like Jesse, many years down there, many seasons, and back in the day with Dave's son as well. When playing at Huff Field meant, hoping that none of the kids needed dental work. So it's come a long way since then. So, I share your concern, Corey, with the funding issues that you have, because I think as the kids just naturally graduate from the smaller fields and get to that Babe Ruth level, there's always that seems to be some line of demarcation, I guess, as to when kids stop their enthusiasm begins to wane at that level. So it's going to be the fundraising. You've got some challenges there. So and I wish you the best with that, because I think it's a good complex down there now, and I think the kids will get a lot of use out of it, and a lot of enjoyment out of it. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, Jeffrey. I just have one, general quick comment. I just applaud your organization for undertaking this at such an unknown time. I do think that may have some impact on your fundraising, but you've certainly demonstrated an interest in moving this project forward. So thank you so very much for that, Corey.
I think with the people that I know that are involved with it, I don't think there's an opportunity to fail here. While it might get extended from a little bit from a time perspective, like this is just, I feel like a few of the selectmen here that I grew up playing baseball also, and I just feel like a town like Sutton, it's a miss if we don't start to get younger kids involved in more than just the soccer and lacrosses of the world, because a lot of us still love the sport. So whatever you guys can do for us, we'll be back in contact.
Thank you so much, Corey. This particular agenda item requires 3 separate motions. The first will be with regard to terminating the consent agreement from July 1st, 2014. Up front for our second motion will be to confirm the licensing agreement between the town and Sutton Youth Baseball. And the third will be to authorize the planning board to conduct a site review. So if we could take those items one by one, I would entertain a motion with regard to the termination of the consent agreement.
Madam Chairwoman, I move to terminate the consent agreement dated July 1st, 2014 between the town, Sutton Youth Baseball League, and Jeff Paulus.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the first motion on agenda item number 3, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion number 1 passes. Our second motion is going to be with confirmation of the license agreement.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to confirm the license agreement between the town and Sutton Youth Baseball dated February 6, 2007 is in full effect until February 6, 2027.
Second.
We've had a motion and a second. All those in favor of motion item number 2, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. That also passes 5-0. And our final motion is going to be with regard to the planning board conducting a plan review.
Madam Chairwoman, I make a motion to authorize the Sutton Planning Board conduct a site plan review for the requested third field at Huff Road Baseball Field with the Select Board's final review for approval.
Second.
With the motion and a second on the final motion item regarding agenda item number 3, all those in favor, please state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, Corey, congratulations. All 3 of those motions have passed 5-0, and we wish you truly the very, very best of luck.
And I'm gonna hop off because I'm up here on vacation right now, but I wanted to let the board know that I'm extremely happy and I appreciate it. And whatever you need, Jim will definitely be in contact, but I appreciate your time today.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your
Thanks, guys.
vacation.
All right, thanks.
The next item on our agenda will be Jim's update, which has several items, so we look forward to that.
Well, hopefully I can go through this relatively quickly. The police station project has been finally finalized. We made our final payments to Nelco, the general contractor, and our project manager, owner's project manager, CMS. We still have a little over $105,000 remaining. We have a filing system that's been ordered but not yet delivered yet. The cost of that is somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. So that'll leave us close to $85,000 to $90,000 remaining. Ultimately, we will use these funds to fund solar, roof-mounted solar at the carport, which was always part of our intention. And as you know from last week's or 2 weeks ago, we went over the year-end transfers. The electric bill down there is significant, as we all know the reasons why behind that. So, congratulations to the chief and his staff. They love the building and the building committee, the chairperson who ran quick meetings and Jesse, who was a member of that committee. Great job to everybody. And as Corey Litchfield was saying, it takes a little time, but we got the job done. We did it right, and it came in under budget, which is the case with both major projects that we participated in recently. Second, the school department is looking to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is providing a one-time grant to the school department based upon population. There's $225 per student, which comes out to roughly $300,000 and change. A one-time grant to help the school reopen. Ted just got some information this morning. He gave me a call, said that they can use it it needs to be spent by December 31st, 2020. So it's a quick thing, quick hit. There are some needs and issues that we have. We want to provide a device for everybody. I can't comment on what they're looking to do with the school year, but it may be a hybrid type situation. So that will provide for a device per person that they can take home and they can do remote learning if necessary. But we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but the bridge is coming up real quick. So that's good. And in addition, we got the CARES money, which was $850,000 approximately. We spent roughly $100,000 of that money ordering laptops, Chromebooks, a plexiglass, PPE, all the necessary stuff to prepare our facilities for reopening. So that's, the more I learn about this, the more I will share with the board. Marion's Camp Gate will be closed for testing on Monday, July 27th for chemical treatment to Lake Singletary. This is an annual event. We close now that we don't have lifeguards down there. We're closing the gate to access the trails and et cetera in the property. So it's one day, but it's important that we don't stir up the chemical treatment, either with boats or by swimmers. It's important that the chemicals reach the bottom and eliminate some of the invasive weeds. Early voting will be available on Saturday, August 22nd, and Sunday, August 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the September primary. Early voting for the general election will be available at some point in October, yet to be announced. This is another mandate by the state. We hope that there's funding on the other side of this, which is sometimes a question with the state. But Laura is aware of this. She's prepared for it, and it is something that we have to do. The Cupola Repair, we have been working for a number of years. In 2018, we got the funding for repair of the cupola, which is the small little attachment to the top of Town Hall. We appropriated $25,000 in the capital plan. John Kuch has been working on this from time to time. We thought with the work being done over the church, we talked to the contractor and you know, we tried to get him interested in doing the work over here. Ultimately, we got one bidder for $62,500. John is going back to the drawing board. We're not awarding this bid. John feels that we can be much more competitive. And ultimately that cupola needs to be sided and repaired for the future. It potentially could provide a leaking option, you know, in the future. So we want to clean it up and repair it and make it safe. Unity Park bid opening was an hour earlier on last Thursday. We had 8 companies submit bids for Unity Park. The apparent winner, it was the winner, I just did a notice of award, was to Matero Construction for $46,500. Graves Engineering gave us an estimated cost of $40,000, so it was in the vicinity. And the company that won was Matero Construction. Matero Construction did the sidewalk work, library, handicap access out back. So they're a good company. We know them, we know how they work, and John Kuch is confident that that work will be done with not many issues. Next, a cyber attack during a school committee meeting. I think it was a week and a half ago. There was a cyber attack on the school committee meeting. Somebody bombed it. The communications department, Pam and Christine, do a terrific job. They had 30 plus meetings with no issues, and this just happened. The communications, the IT director, Dan Durgan, and the police are investigating this event. They're running IP addresses. They're doing the best they can to track this down. But in the end, you know, we've learned from it, and we're going to be better and stronger going forward. We're developing a policy on Zoom meetings. Every board is going to have a co-host, which basically signs people in, asks people what they're there for. Are you there to speak on a certain matter? Kind of start that process. So hopefully we learn from it and we get better at what we're doing, especially with the additional remote meetings that we're required to have at this point in time. So library update, the library is now offering curbside 6 days a week. You know, this was written a week ago. They actually opened yesterday. So this is kind of old news at this point. They are open in limited hours, and you can come up. I went up this afternoon after lunch, and Betsy, the library director, Betsy Rajat, was out in front of the library, I think because it was a sunny day and enjoying it outside, but also she was counting the people coming into the library and you know, running through the protocol that was established in cooperation with the public health nurse that we have, as you know. So that they're slowly reopening. They had 10 visitors yesterday. they, you know, as of like 2 o'clock this afternoon or 1 o'clock, 1:30, they had 8. So they're slowly getting into it. And, you know, so we will continue to watch that. And lastly, the fire chief, you know, Matt Belsito was on a well-deserved vacation down in Sandwich, you know, relaxing. You know, unfortunately, he didn't listen to his wife, but he brought his, you know, emergency phone down here, which was an issue, but I won't go into that. But the chief did hear a call come over the radio in Sandwich for 2 individuals floating out to sea. He grabbed his older brother, Dan, who runs IBA, and Dan was kind of, what are we doing? And they were very successful. They got a young boy who started to drift out on Scorton Creek. His father jumped in on the inner tube to try to reel him in, and he got dragged out to sea eventually. And the rescue was for 2 individuals, a boy and an older man, the father. But it all ended great, and Matt, you know, did his job, and his family also helped out a lot. Probably a little bit more shaken up than the fire chief was, but I just thought everybody should be aware of how blessed we are to have a great fire chief in this town, and you know, great job by everybody that was involved. That's all I have for updates, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate that. John, I'm sorry, David, do you have any questions or statements?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Jim, great update as always. There's an awful lot on this. I'll try to go quickly because our chairwoman said we'd be out by 7, and
Oh yeah.
it'd be longer than the whole meeting. You know, I do want to start with the police station project. I think probably most of us in the public thought this was done some time ago because the police station's been open for so long, but we forget how much work goes into the planning and the completion of the project.
Right.
And so obviously there's still been some things going on that needed to be finished up. So you mentioned the building committee, which has been at this for a long time, and we appreciate all the work that they did, including a couple of our members here. And I certainly know that Wendy's waiting for the next building to be built, so she can have something to do. But great job, and it's a great building that I think the whole town's proud of, and I guess it's good to see it come to a conclusion. You know, it's moving on to the grant. I think it's great that we're continuing to see resources become available for us to deal with extra expenses during this time, particularly, you know, for the school. If I have any concern at all, it's that a couple of these things seem like there's not perfect clarity around what can actually be spent on some of these things. And given this one in particular, where there's a relatively tight time window, it sounds like, to spend it. I have a little concern that we spend money thinking that it's going to be reimbursed by some grant, and only to find out perhaps that it might not be. That's just a concern. No, nothing more than that. I think, you know, we'll do everything we can to do it right, and hopefully we get it all covered.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Marion's Camp, is there going to be signage down there so people know that they can't blow off the gate and just go swimming on their own?
Well, the gate will be locked. There'll be a sign on the gate itself. And the fact that it's locked should send a little bit of a symbol, but a message, but there will be a you know, a sign on the gate that states that the reasons why it's closed.
Good. You know, I'm sure all the residents on the lake will have a knowledge of why it's closed, but those that are just visiting might not. So I think the sign is important.
Right.
You touched on, with the cupola, you touched on the fact that there is some need to get this done. There is some time sensitivity to it. So we'll just keep going. Unity Park, it's nice to see that work coming around. You know, regarding the cyber attack, I just want to give a shout out to both Pam and Christine. They really have worked very hard. These are public meetings, and you're forced to give out all of the login information to the public. if you have somebody that is so inclined to do something like this, then it's hard to stop. And I just, honestly, as I said to Pam earlier, that I'm sorry that it happened to these guys. They've worked hard and they didn't deserve it, So,
Yeah.
Appreciate the library for figuring out creative ways to be able to provide services. And all I can say about the chief and his brother is, of course, come to expect that from these guys. So that's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you so much, Dave. Jesse?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm not really going to say much about the police station because I think it's all been covered pretty well. Just the one thing is that also, in addition to everyone else who has been mentioned, I'd like to thank the voters who supported this at town meeting and at the ballot, because without their agreeing to this project and taking on that increased burden in their property taxes, this wonderful building would have never gotten past, the initial thought process. And as a result, the Sutton Police Department have a wonderful building that hopefully will be around after we're all gone, 50, 60 years. So we built it right. We built it so the department can grow, and it's just it's a wonderful place. So again, just thank you for the public for their support. Like Dave, I have concerns about the grant, but we'll just see how it plays out. So no need to comment. As far as mirroring camps go, Jim, I'm assuming that Millbury is going to be notified so that they don't allow the access to the boat ramp.
That's right. The boat ramp will be closed for the day. That's the bigger issue is the boats really turn up the chemicals, which is really detrimental to what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Because if I remember correctly, I think I heard that this is a more targeted use than in normal years. So yeah, the last thing you want to do is have the boats, moving it to areas that don't need to be treated.
Right.
Early voting is going to be tough, because it's just another thing, but I'm confident in the clerk's office. They will do what is necessary to make sure it's done. Skipping ahead to Unity Park, I think that's great. I know the volunteers have worked very, very hard in their fundraising efforts, and it's nice to know that the town is going to be able to contribute a little bit to make that park more accessible. Because if anyone's ever been down to Wilkes and seen it, yes, it's in sorry shape currently, but there's also no place to park. So the fact that we're able to cut in, put some parking spaces there, that will guarantee use, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
As Dave said regarding the cyber attacks, a tremendous kudos, if you will, to both Pam and Christine. I'd just like to add to Dave's comment. We also have to remember, before this whole COVID thing began, who heard of Zoom? And who would have thought that we would not be gathered in the selectmen's room with Tim, if he's still around. So, not only did they flawlessly run all these meetings, but, it's learning on the fly. And they've risen to the occasion time and time again. So thank you, Chris. Thank you, Pam, for keeping us all on track. Lastly, Chief Belcito. What can I say about my friend Chief Belcito? If I was ever to be lost in a stream and going out to sea, he would definitely be the face I would almost expect to see. He lives and breathes the fire service. He's just that one that special type of person that, I'm fortunate enough to call a friend, and I'm just thankful for everything he does on a daily basis. And the fact that he never gets a day off, well, it's for good reasons, that's for sure. So, Chief, I know you're watching, so thank you, my friend. And Madam Chairwoman, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Jonathan?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Jim. As far as the police station goes, just really glad to see that the project's wrapping up, that, we're not over budget, that we have some money to put towards the solar roof, which I think is going to really help us offset the cost. So just all around a really great job about the committee and just, the townspeople for, making this happen. I think this is such an important project for the town. And like I said, this building will be there for a long time. And as it needs, it will be a much more adaptive space than what we had before. So I'm just very happy that that's done. As far as the school grants go, I'm just glad to see the schools looking for any way possible to get grants and to help fund the situation, to deal with the situation we have. And they just have a daunting task to try to figure out, like, to predict like what the best way for us to educate our kids during this time are. And I don't envy their situation. So I think anything we can do to find funds to help offset some of the costs that we're going to need to potentially, especially for technology and whatnot, to make a better experience for our kids in learning from whatever situation we need them to learn from, whether it's from home or from school. As far as the cupola goes, the first thing that popped into my head is that's a pretty pricey bid. That's almost as much as what it costs for the Congregational Church across the street to do their entire steeple.
Yeah.
And my first thought was like, wow, we'd probably be cheaper just to tear the thing down. Not that that's a great option, but might be. And let's see, Unity Park. I am just so thrilled to see where we're at with this. I remember attending, the first day when we were on site there with the volunteers, and we were kind of coming up with this concept of putting this little parking area in, and now to see that it's actually coming to fruition and the hard work that's been done is just amazing, and that this is going forward. And it's just exciting to see, because what really excites me about it is rather than relying on the town to solve it, people stepped up within the community to make this happen. I think that's the best way for things like this to happen.
Yeah.
So I'm just really excited about that, and just really want to encourage other people to do very similar things in other parts of town that may be needed. As far as the cyber attack, I thought, we should probably give them hazard pay after that experience. Just really unbelievable that would happen. And I'm just, hopefully we can mitigate that from happening. It's a really tough thing to do, especially in these public forums where we're, putting out there the codes to get into the meeting. So, again, it's gonna be due diligence, and if people don't answer, we don't let them in, I guess, when we reach out to them, if we don't know who they are. So as far as the library goes, it's just really great to see the library is open. Even though it's limited, it's still allowing us to have access to their great resources, and so I'm excited to see that happening. And then as far as Chief Belcito, the first thought I had was like, how lucky were this father and son that he was there, right place at the right time, and to be saved by Chief Belcito. And it, like everybody else said, it doesn't surprise me at all. So it just really, we're very lucky. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Jeffrey. Jeff, I think you're still muted.
I'll be as quick as I can on it. And I don't have an awful lot to add beyond what my colleagues have said, but I'll go through it really quick. Police station is complete success. I mean, I don't think you can look at it as any other way, and congratulations to everyone involved. And Wendy, it's great to have you free up some time now to move on to the next building project.
I don't know why this is like a theme.
The school department, boy, I'll tell you, there's just so many challenges there. Just how to spend this money, what to spend it on, how to do, like everyone else, I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens, and what the decisions are. And I'm sure whatever those decisions are, they may change on the fly as they go. So, good luck to all of those involved trying to come up with those answers. Jim, on the early voting, do people come to the town hall for that, or what would be?
Yeah, they're going to come. They're going to come into town hall. The door will be open. They will come in. We haven't quite figured out the protocol. We were just notified, I think, last week that this is going to take place. So Laura's going to work up a protocol regarding, temperature checks and kind of before people come in, that how are you feeling, and, everything else. And then they will be disseminated about the town hall, the first floor or second floor, and be given a ballot and be able to vote. The good part is it's spread out. So, the early voting, the mailing cards that individuals got in the mail this last weekend. Laura had a stack of them today that people have mailed them back in. So a huge number of people are voting early. So I don't think it's going to be a significant impact. It's just time that need to staff it and have people here to accept residents.
Great. Unity Park, again, complete success. It's just nice to see a grassroots effort like that really come to fruition, and that again is something that all involved should be proud for what they've accomplished there. Cyber attack, Christine, Pam, thanks. Just want to give a shout out really to as far as the library with Betsy and her staff. I mean, they've for a number of years now, like we all know, they've done a lot with a little, and then they've dealt with this situation as well. So thanks for all they do. I know it means a lot to a lot of people in town. So I really appreciate that. Chief Belcito, just another day, I guess, right? So thanks to him as usual. So that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Jim, thank you so much for a very comprehensive update. I appreciate it. And just to clarify, the police building committee meetings were not quick, they were efficient. Yeah, I think that was a better word. And again, I don't want to repeat everybody's comments, but it'll be interesting to see how we utilize the grant once we know what the plan is going forward. So, that's a big unknown as of today. So I'm sure that, those funds will be used properly, but we're not sure really in what form that will happen.
Right.
Thank you to Laura and her staff for the early voting. I know it's a real burden on her office, and so I appreciate the efforts very much. Cupola Repair, crazy quote. So I'm glad it's going back to bid. The library deserves a big round of applause for the work that they've been doing. They've done so much with the senior center and delivering books, and they've really stepped up during this crisis. So I really appreciate all of their efforts so much. And Matt's a superstar, and I guess his brother Dan is too. We have to give him some credit also. But that boy and his dad were very, very fortunate. So the consequences could have been much, much worse. So thank you to Matt as always. And that's all I have for tonight, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any announcements? We will combine announcements with our roundtable correspondence and business. We'll start with you, Dave.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Only one thing, and I know some of my colleagues picked up on this through the Jim's update. I happened to be speaking with the chairman of the school committee this past week, and what I said to him was, I think that between himself and the superintendent, they have the least desirable job in town at the moment, trying to figure out how to bring kids back to school. And I guess that's my only comment. Is really interested in kind of the direction that they take and where that's going to go. And as Jeff points out, I think the idea that whatever it is we do is so subject to change with changing conditions that flexibility, I guess, is the key. So just a comment, that's all. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you so much, Dave. Jesse.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I only have the food pantry list. Michelle is looking for donations involving cleaning sprays, of course. I know they're out there. They're starting to become available, and I know I've been grabbing one or two every time I can. So hopefully some people can make some donations. Canned peas, bottled juice. Michelle always asks for the low sugar option if possible. Cranberry juice. Seniors loved cranberry juice. Dish soap, deodorant, both men's and women's, cooking oil, canola or vegetable oil or something like that. And they're all good with paper products currently. And last but not least, toothpaste. That's all we have. Thank you.
Jesse, thank you so much. Jonathan.
Thank you. I don't have anything today.
All right, well, thank you so much. And Jeffrey.
I'm all set as well, Madam Chair.
I as well have nothing to add. I think everybody did a great job in touching on their points this evening, and thank you so much. And that brings us to the end of our agenda, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair.
So moved.
I'll second.
And
We
also-
have a motion, a second. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks, everybody.